Thadou Defense Army, TDA, from frontline engagements to a legacy of local resistance. Latest developments, TDA's first confirmed engagement. In the final week of July 2025, local observers in northern Chin State reported the Thadou Defense Army's, TDA, first overt military action against junta forces. On the dusty arterial road linking Tonzang to Tedim, TDA fighters ambushed a Tatmadaw supply convoy, disabling 2 military trucks and forcing the remaining vehicles to retreat under Thadou gunfire. The engagement, lasting just over an hour before darkness fell, marked the first time the TDA's existence was directly acknowledged in battlefield reports. Though casualties on both sides remain unverified, villages along the route, long vulnerable to arbitrary searches and extortion, briefly celebrated a rare victory, viewing the ambush as proof that a local force could protect Thadou interests against the overwhelming firepower of the junta. This skirmish not only signaled the TDA's entrance onto Myanmar's fragmented war stage, but also underscored the community's determination to resist military oppression without waiting for outside assistance. Context: why a Thadou Defense Force emerged. Since Myanmar's February 2021 military coup, ethnic minorities across the country have felt increasingly under threat. The Thadou people, concentrated in Chin State's northern townships of Tedim and Tonzang, just south of the Indian border, have long endured political marginalization, underdevelopment, and intermittent conflict. With dreams of democratic reform dashed, and civilian protest movements met by brutal repression, communities once hopeful for peaceful change turned, in many cases, to arms. For the Thadou, life under the junta meant arbitrary arrests, taxation levied by roving patrols, and airstrikes that obliterated civilian hamlets suspected of harboring resistance fighters. In this environment, district elders and youth representatives began meeting in late 2022 to discuss forming a community defense group. They drew inspiration from nearby People's Defense Forces, PDFs, and ethnic armies, yet sought an organization rooted solely in Thadou villages, answerable only to local councils rather than distant political wings. Thus, out of both necessity and a desire for self-determination, the Thadou Defense Army quietly took shape. Origins and early organization. Although the TDA's formal founding date remains unannounced, testimony from village informants suggests that by mid-2023, dozens of Thadou youth had trained at improvised camps along the India-Myanmar border. These recruits included displaced farmers seeking protection for their families, former teachers aiming to shield schoolchildren, and ex-civic employees determined to safeguard community assets. Without external funding, they relied on local contributions, rice, medicines, and homemade munitions salvaged from unexploded ordnance. Decision-making fell to a council of village representatives and former elders. Each unit, typically 15-25 fighters, elected its sergeant and platoon leader, who coordinated patrols and logistics. The council oversaw overall strategy, managed rudimentary intelligence networks, and adjudicated disputes, both internal and disagreements with neighboring defense forces. This grassroots structure ensured accountability. Any abuse of civilians could be swiftly prosecuted by community elders, curbing the risk of warlordism. Strategic footprint and cross-border links. Geographically, TDA operations have centered on the dense foothills around Tonzang and Tedim, where forest cover and narrow mountain passes favor guerrilla tactics. Control over key river crossings and feeder roads has allowed TDA units to monitor junta movements, warn villagers of impending raids, and occasionally lure patrols into ambush zones. While the TDA maintains no formal alliance with organizations across the border in India, familial and tribal ties facilitate covert supply lines. Thadou traders in Manipur towns, under less overt military scrutiny, have discreetly conveyed food and medical supplies. Some returning migrant workers from Mizoram have also slipped through relief consignments, bringing ammunition and satellite phones. These networks operate without formal sanction from Indian authorities, but reflect long-standing kinship bonds that straddle the porous frontier. Relations with other resistance forces. Chin State's resistance landscape is notoriously complex. Established ethnic armies such as the Chin National Defense Force, CNDF, Chinland Defense Force, CDF, and the various PDF brigades of the National Unity Government, NUG, each pursue overlapping objectives but compete for territory, recruits, and external support. To date, the TDA has sought to remain neutral in interfactional disputes, focusing instead on defending Thadou villages. Still, tensions have flared. In late 2024, a skirmish erupted between a TDA detachment and a CDF unit patrol alleged to be taxing local farmers. After elders mediated, both sides agreed to mutual non-interference, an informal protocol that has largely held. Similarly, when joint offensives against the Tatmadaw required manpower, the TDA provided guides and limited manpower to PDF-CNDF task forces without signing binding allegiance. This cautious pragmatism has allowed the TDA to preserve its autonomy and avoid the internecine violence that undermines some Chin resistance factions. It also offers a model for ethnic self-defense that prioritizes village welfare over high-profile military gains or nationalist ideology. Tactical operations and community defense. The TDA's combat methods reflect its community-centered ethos. Rather than launching large-scale assaults, small units conduct nightly patrols, set up makeshift checkpoints and stage hit-and-run attacks on isolated junta outposts. Intelligence comes largely from villagers, reports of troop movements, airstrip activity, or roadblocks. Operatives use locally coded radio channels and messenger runners, minimizing the risk of interception. Ambush sites are carefully chosen. Narrow gorges where armored vehicles slow or river fords where foot patrols must pause. Explosive traps, often repurposed artillery shells, guard supply convoys. The objective is simple: delay and harass. By disrupting logistics, the TDA hopes to force the Tatmadaw to redeploy troops away from civilian areas, granting villagers precious breathing space. Medical support comes via volunteer medics trained in neighboring PDF camps. Casualties are treated in forest-hidden clinics, where herbal remedies supplement limited pharmaceuticals ferried in from India. While fatalities do occur, the TDA's emphasis on mobility and concealment has prevented the catastrophic losses seen in more conventional battles. Challenges, resources, recognition, and reprisal. Despite its successes, the TDA faces daunting obstacles. Resource scarcity remains critical, ammunition runs low, and villagers sometimes must choose between feeding hungry families or arming fighters. Fundraising in diaspora communities has begun, but transfers are intermittent and risky. Healthcare shortages mean that even minor injuries can become life-threatening infections. Lack of international recognition compounds these hurdles. Unlike larger ethnic armies with political wings that lobby foreign governments, the TDA operates largely out of view. This invisibility spares it from heavy targeting in some respects, but deprives it of crucial legitimacy and humanitarian aid. Most perilous is the threat of Tatmadaw reprisals. After the July ambush, villages between Tonzang and Tidim reported new junta patrols questioning, detaining, and sometimes burning homes accused of harboring TDA fighters. The calculus of defense versus civilian cost weighs heavily. Every ambush soils nearby families with potential collective punishment. Sociocultural impact, preserving Thadou identity. Beyond battlefield metrics, the TDA has become a focal point for Thadou cultural resilience. Schools that closed under junta decrees reopened under TDA protection, teaching children in the Thadou language alongside Myanmar history, curricula banned by the military. Community festivals, once cancelled for fear of junta surveillance, now resume under local defence forces. Watch, reviving traditional dances, songs and folk tales of past heroism. Furthermore, women, who form up to 20% of TDA support personnel, lead logistics, nurse wounded fighters, and gather intelligence under the cover of market trips. In some hamlets, they have even established clandestine courier networks, carrying messages and supplies along mountain trails inaccessible to army vehicles. Youth engagement is a double-edged sword. While involvement in the TDA has given many a sense of purpose, it has also robbed them of schooling and normal adolescence. Local councils now debate policies to limit child recruitment, a reflection of the TDA's accountability to the very communities it defends. Unanswered questions and the path ahead. As the TDA moves beyond skirmishes into sustained defense, crucial questions loom. Leadership and command. How will the founding council transition to long-term structures? Can elections or merit-based promotions prevent the rise of autocrats? Political aspirations. Will the TDA evolve from a purely defensive militia into a political actor seeking federal recognition and autonomy? Alliances. In the face of escalating junta offensives, Might the TDA seek formal integration into the NUG-led Federal Union Army or a regional Chin coalition? Ceasefire prospects. Should any negotiated settlement arise, will the TDA secure Thadou interests or be marginalized like other local defense forces? The coming months will test the TDA's resilience, strategic vision, and commitment to civilian welfare. Its ability to secure reliable supply lines, foster unity among diverse Thadou village,